The local election season in the region has come and gone, but the 2016 presidential season is just getting started.
Plus, out with the old and in with the new. What site will the FBI choose for its new headquarters? District News Beat starts now.
Good evening. I'm Sonia Deberzini.
And I'm Michael Ayala, and this is District News Beat, a hyperlocal newscast designed with you in mind. Here's a look at what's happening in your community. By now, the DMV's newly elected officials are settling into their new positions. In Washington, D.C., Democrat Muriel Bowser defeated former Mayor Vincent Gray in the primaries and went on to beat independents David Catania and Carol Schwartz for the city's highest office. Bowser had served on the district council since 2007 and received a rare endorsement from President Obama. In Virginia, Ken Cuccinelli lost a tight race against Democrat Terry McAuliffe. McAuliffe, a former DNC chairman, has vowed to work with Republicans to grow businesses and create more jobs in the state. Maryland, meanwhile, is seeing red for the first time in nearly 12 years. Republican Larry Hogan took over for Martin O'Malley, becoming the state's first GOP governor since 1969. Now that newly elected officials are settling into office, national politicians are gearing up for what is proving to be a fast-paced game of positioning. Who will actually run and who won't? While nominations have not been set, there's still much to learn about the candidates who have announced their bid for the White House in 2016. Here to make sense of it all is Matthew Dallek, assistant professor of political management at the George Washington Graduate School of Political Management, to discuss the impact of the upcoming race on the region. Matt, welcome, and thank you very much for joining. Well, my first question is, in this upcoming presidential campaign, what do you believe are the top three issues people want to hear discussed?
Well, I think the first and most important issue is got to be income inequality or equality and economic issues more broadly. I think those issues remain, if you look at the polls and why so many people think that the country is headed in the wrong direction, there's still this sense that the economy is not working for far too many Americans. And so I think that kind of churning is out there in the public and will remain in the electorate. There are obviously a number of other issues. Immigration is an incredibly big issue this week. I imagine it will remain an incredibly important issue. I don't know if it's going to be the second most important, but it will certainly be vital, especially given that a lot of swing states have large Latino populations, and this issue matters particularly to them. And then foreign policy in general, I think, whether it's ISIS or Russia and Ukraine, or Ebola, a number of kind of national security issues that are very much, I think, on the minds of a lot.
Are there concerns on a local level? Are they different or are they the same?
Yeah, so, well, I think the issues in Washington, D.C. are in some ways very similar to the issues that the presidential candidates are going to talk about. And the economy is obviously important, and especially economic inequality. I mean, Washington, D.C. remains an incredibly unequal city with many growing disparities economically. So I think that issue will resonate in Washington. Having said that, there are obviously a number of local issues that don't necessarily translate at the national level. I think the issue of corruption, as we've seen over the past few years, and the reports that outgoing Mayor Vincent Gray may be indicted, actually, after a number of people associated with his campaign have pled guilty. That remains really, I think, an incredibly hot-button issue locally. The public schools, always a big issue in Washington. Education is an issue nationally, but it's certainly not going to lead the presidential debate. So I think there are some important differences there.
All right, thank you. Once again, we've been speaking with Matthew Dallek, assistant professor of political management at the George Washington Graduate School of Political Management. Matt, thank you so much for joining us.
The FBI is closer to a makeover. A new consolidated headquarters has been proposed for the Bureau, and 5 real estate companies are now bidding to build it. The Bureau currently runs out of the J. Edgar Hoover building in downtown D.C., but many workers report to smaller offices off-site. Officials say moving employees under the same roof will help cut costs as well as boost efficiency. Potential sites for the new flagship include plots in Greenbelt and Landover, Maryland, and in Springfield, Virginia. A location and developer are expected to be announced by the middle of 2016. It appears most Americans are ready for the U.S. to do business with Cuba. President Obama called for an end to some travel and spending restrictions with the country last year, ending more than a half a century of mutual tension. A poll conducted by the Associated Press found that 60% of Americans support the move. While President Obama is working to restore ties with Cuba, only Congress can fully revoke the embargo. Those talks are already underway.
Well, some are calling it cannabis chaos. Marijuana will soon be legal in the district without any kind of plan from city officials. The voter-approved initiative could go into effect almost immediately. Residents and visitors who are 21 and older will be allowed to carry, share, and smoke marijuana in D.C., although federal land is still off limits. So here's the problem. There is still no way to legally buy or sell the stuff. Federal lawmakers who govern the district won't allow city officials to set rules on commercial production and distribution. It was part of a spending bill passed last year, preventing federal funds from being used towards legalization. Still, advocates and business owners are expected to hold a pot expo on Capitol Hill later this year to hash out all of these issues.
Starting next month, D.C. firefighters will no longer talk over encrypted radio channels. The change comes after communication problems during the deadly Metro smoke incident earlier this year. First responders weren't able to talk to their supervisors above ground, though it's unclear whether encryption is to blame. Mayor Bowser's office still says it's a safety issue and that opening the airwaves will help neighboring departments assist D.C. firefighters. Fire officials say encrypted channels will still be available for security purposes.
Well, politicians in Montgomery County are still at odds over the proposed Purple Line. The new line, once constructed, will connect Bethesda, Silver Spring, Greenbelt, College Park, and New Carrollton. Some officials have expressed objection to the line, saying it will take away traffic from the inter-county connector, which joins cities further to the north. Construction on the Purple Line could begin as early as next year, with an opening as soon as 2020. Well, gas prices in the D.C. metro area are on the rise again. According to AAA, the average price for a gallon of regular is up 5 cents from last week to $2.25. That's the same as the national average. Now, if you can, try and fill up in Virginia. Residents there are paying about $2.13 a gallon. Just to add some perspective, prices were a full dollar more this time last year. Well, a harrowing drive on a local highway for one area woman has sparked a safety campaign by the Maryland Department of Transportation. Crews have inspected 69 state bridges after a chunk of concrete fell from a Capitol Beltway bridge last week onto a car below. Now, luckily, the driver wasn't hurt. The bridge over Suitland Road has since been fixed. Highway officials say repairs to 17 of the 69 bridges inspected are underway, with more to be addressed over the next 2 weeks. Well, in a city filled with history, there is at least one D.C. location that has historically flown under the radar when it comes to arts and culture. Today, Anacostia is an area in southeast D.C. that is filled with hidden gems and little-known historic facts. District News Beat's Alexis McCombs uncovers the details in her report.
A relatively infamous past has led to a present rich with history and gaining popularity. In Southeast D.C., the Anacostia neighborhood was once known for bigotry and blatant discrimination against blacks and the Irish. During the 1960s, the once beautiful borough succumbed to urban neglect, and the possibility of revitalizing the positive attributes of the area seemed remote. That is, until now. The world's largest chair stands as a symbol of Anacostia's artistic past, and the Anacostia Art Center is on the forefront of putting the historic neighborhood back on the map.
Anacostia is an unknown to a lot of DC residents, so in some ways we're getting tourists from our own town east of the river. So the Arts Center brought in about 23,000 people last year in its first year of operation.
While art has always been a part of Anacastia's history, its connection to the Smithsonian has yet to be uncovered by many.
The civil rights movement was in full-fledged, and all kinds of people were coming to the National Mall to protest, but not many people were going to the museums. So after a search of local neighborhoods, they identified Southeast Washington and the Anacostia neighborhood as a place of activism.
The quaint area along the Anacostia River appears to be building a bridge from its past, forging a future that focuses on the renaissance of a region with seemingly limitless possibilities.
It has lent itself to the historical, but the new upcoming everything that's happening. This is sort of a tie-in that gives all kinds of artists the opportunity for their work to be seen.
It's opened up people that have had dreams, people that want to be artists, different programs that are provided that help these people do what normally they would not be able to do.
Once the crown jewel of the DMV, Anacostia is well on its way to regaining the luster of yesteryear. From Southwest DC, I'm Alexis McCombs reporting for District Newsbeat.
Coming up on District Newsbeat, we'll take a look at DC's youngest politician and some of the area's most promising college-bound athletes.
Also, if you're looking for a quick culinary fix at lunchtime, we'll take a look at area food trucks to find out what's on the menu. Stay with us. District Newsbeat continues after the break.
In education news, one local entrepreneur has found a way to meet the demand for entry-level help desk operators and coders. Since 2009, Raymond Bell has operated the HOPE project in Southeast DC. HOPE is an acronym for Helping Other People Excel, and that's exactly what Bell has done. Since the program's inception, dozens of young adults have earned valuable training certificates and have gone on to work in some of the area's top companies. To be eligible for the program, participants must have a high school diploma or its equivalent, the GED, and be a DC resident. Upon meeting those criteria, the 2-month training program is free of charge. Bell says he started HOPE to provide a way for young people to empower themselves and take control of their destiny. Now, for more information about the HOPE Project, visit hopeprojectdc.org.
The metropolitan area is home to many colleges and universities. And with young adults away from home, many for the first time, safety is paramount. In light of some horrific events that have happened on college campuses in recent months, University Business website has posted a list of ways to improve safety on campuses. Among the suggestions, having all employees speak to students as often as possible, since simply saying hello creates a level of comfort and a stronger sense of community. Cracking down on petty theft is also mentioned as a way to impact safety. The site also suggests making repairs to broken lights around campus and requiring all students to wear visible IDs. They also recommend increased security and foot patrols. Other experts advise when it comes to safety, a little precaution can go a long way. Politics are often thought to be a pursuit of the older set or perhaps the more experienced among us. But a Howard University sophomore is blazing a new trail of her own in local politics. 18-year-old Allison Carpenter was elected as the Advisory Neighborhood Commissioner for the community surrounding Howard University. Her election makes Carpenter the youngest person to ever hold public office in District of Columbia history.
As a 11th grader, I started at a new high school, and they were cutting everything. They didn't have any money for school buses. They were cutting AP courses, cutting the basketball team. And so I organized like a student levy committee where we lobbied the community to, pass a levy so we would have, operating funds for the next year. And we had 500 students turn out for a rally, and I just really realized the power of organizing, and I started to believe in the political process if done correctly.
Carpenter says people often ask her if she aspires to higher offices, and to that she answers,
well, my favorite senator, Cory Booker, says that it's about purpose, not about position. And I really like that because I'm not going to say, oh yes, I want to be a senator or I want to be the president, because that's irrelevant to me. But I do know I have a purpose, and that's to serve my community. I'm originally from Ohio, so I do hope to go back and serve my community in Ohio, and whatever that looks like. If it's, state senate, if it's U.S. Senate, if it's just a community organizer, whatever allows me to serve my purpose is what I'm going to do.
Carpenter's new duties will enable her to impact policies including parking, zoning, economic development, and liquor licenses. All of this before she's even legally allowed to have a drink. Despite her humility, Ellison Carpenter might just be a name to remember on the political landscape of the future.
Well, on to more news about local youth, this time in sports and academics, as the area's top high school football players have signed letters of intent for the upcoming academic year. We start with Eleanor Roosevelt senior offensive lineman Isaiah Prince. Prince was a U.S. Army All-American and signed with national champion Ohio State. He was also named the Maryland High School Player of the Year by the DC Touchdown Club. Prince, along with others, will be honored at an awards dinner later this year. The DC Player of the Year, Gonzaga offensive lineman Richie Pettibone, has signed with the University of Alabama. Now, if that name sounds familiar, that's because Pettibone is the grandson of former Washington Redskins coach Richie Pettibone. Also in Virginia, Tuscarora running back Noah Reimers has been named Virginia Player of the Year and will take his talents to Harvard in the fall. Speaking of local talent making it big, Bryant Crawford is a Gonzaga College high school basketball star who doubles as an actor in a locally produced music video. The talented teenager is known for his high-flying ability on the court and his above 3.0 GPA in the classroom. He also has a reputation as a really good kid who is very close to his family. Even with his basketball credentials and the unusual good fortune of participating in a music video, the sensational senior still believes he's just a regular kid. Crawford talked about his overachieving experiences.
When I'm not in the gym or when I'm not hanging out, I always find time to get that schoolwork done, make sure it's done on time, and make sure if I need help or I'm not understanding, I go get that help and just fit it all in my schedule.
Crawford, like many of the other local standouts, has accepted a full scholarship to play basketball at Wake Forest University, where he will enroll for classes this coming fall. Well, Metro DC is famous for great places to grab a bite to eat. Well, that reputation is growing, thanks in part to the emergence of an assortment of menus on the move, otherwise known as food trucks. District News Beat's Crystal Park takes a look at edible options on the go.
Picking a place to eat lunch is now easier than ever. With the variety of food trucks available in multiple parts of the city, the choices come to you. Wendy Thomas is a regular. Every week, she orders from Tasty Kebab.
Just because their food is so flavorful without being spicy. I do not like, I mean, they give you a choice. You can have mild, medium, or spicy. And mild has plenty of flavor without having any of the hot spices that I don't like. And it's just healthy food.
Matt Rizzolo works across the street. He says grabbing lunch is so easy when the food trucks come to you.
So, so how do you choose food trucks? Do you just come close to where your office is, or do you follow the
I work right up there, so I just walk down.
So whatever the selection is for this
Convenience is king.
Convenience is what the food truck business is all about, not only for the customers, but for the vendors themselves. But it takes more than just convenience to keep customers coming back. Mustafa Shokri, who's been running the Tasty Kebab truck for 5 years, says his kebabs are special because
we have our own sauces that we make it at home, homemade. So no one have it like us. So one second. How you doing?
when it comes to food trucks, taste and convenience are only part of the equation. Food trucks need to be safe.
Well, District News Beat's movie critic Travis Hobson is here now to tell us about a hot new film featuring Will Smith and Margot Robbie.
Lots going on at the movies here in D.C., but let's start with Will Smith, who, let's be honest, has not had a good last couple of years. He's back in what may be the best role he's had in years in the new con man film Focus, which co-stars Margot Robbie from The Wolf of Wall Street. Now, Focus is a caper film that actually gives Smith his sexiest role in far too long, playing an experienced grifter who falls for a beautiful newcomer played by Robbie. Now, of course, when dealing with people who lie for a living, nobody can trust the other, and somebody is getting played for a fool. I think those who have been itching for a true Will Smith fix will get it here. While the film doesn't always know whether it wants to be a gritty crime movie or a date night comedy, Smith and Robbie make for a scorching on-screen pair worth checking out. All right, now, and some really good news for those movie lovers who maybe don't like going to the multiplexes as much. DC's premier film festival, the Washington, D.C. International Film Festival, better known as Film Fest DC, will be returning for an incredible 29th year. The festival has been facing budgetary shortfalls that have threatened its existence over the last few years, and it was looking for a long time as if the curtain had finally dropped on it for good. But credit to festival director Tony Gittins for pulling together the necessary funding. Hey, the guy knows how to ask for money at this point, I guess, and the show will proceed as planned. The 11-day festival runs from April 16th to the 26th and mostly features dramas, comedies from around the globe. And because this is the nation's capital, you can expect a healthy number of political comedies and thrillers.
Well, that's all the time we have for this evening.
We thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you back here next week for another edition of District News Beats.